Welcome back to the Healthy Habit Podcast, everybody. Thank you for joining us here today on episode 257. I'm your host of the podcast, Dr. Dejan Matijevic at Healthy Habit Medical Center, located right inside Healthy Habit Health Foods. And we're talking with the legend himself. He's back with us, Dr. Gaetano Morello here. Last time we spoke was 4 episodes ago, actually. We did an immune system deep dive with Dr. Morello on anti-V, how does aging factor into immune system health. He broke down immunosenescence for us. We talked about liquid soft gel versions of the classic anti-V formula. Why is anti-V different, unique from other immune system products? And overall, how someone should be preparing in general for fall, winter season, how to keep our immune system strong all year round. We even highlighted the oil of oregano options by Natural Factors. So you don't want to miss that one. Go back and check out 253 in addition here to today's episode. Dr. Morello is a published author and licensed naturopathic physician, just like us here at the medical center. Recently, well, not recently, but he's now a clinician at the Complex Chronic Disease Program located at BC Women's Hospital in Vancouver, Canada. He's the first naturopathic doctor to hold such a position at a major North American hospital. So I'm blessed and grateful here to talk with Dr. Morello here today. Welcome back, Doc.
Well, thanks for having me. I know it, it seems like I was just there just a few days ago, right?
Yeah,
Time
yeah.
just flies.
We appreciate your dedication, keeping us all in the loop and educated here
Sure,
at the
sure.
Healthy Habit Health Food Store. All our customers appreciate it. Today we're highlighting everyday stressors and the
Hmm.
default mode network. We'll try to highlight 1 or 2 products here through Natural Factors that plug into this discussion, like Suntheanine and Pharma GABA. But let's start with, what is the default mode network?
It's really an interesting part of the brain. So it's really it's sometimes referred to as a brain's internal compass. It's responsible for things like self-reflection, introspection, emotional regulation. It connects the past, the present, and the future by shaping how we remember ourselves, how we perceive how the world sees us. Uh, and it also kind of tells you, envisions the person that you're going to become. So this network really plays a big role in your identity, uh, and really your emotional well-being. And there's a number of different areas of the brain that are involved in this. One of them is, and I don't go into all these different brain sections, but anyways, one of them is the medial prefrontal cortex, and this is involved in decision-making processes. Something we call the posterior cingulate cortex. This plays a role in memory. The inferior parietal lobe, which is an area that integrates what you sense and the attention it gives you in those sensing. And then the hippocampus, which is a really important system for memory and emotional regulation. And so these areas make up what we call the default mode network. And what's interesting about it is that when right now me and you are talking and it's not working, it shuts down. It opens up when you are by yourself, when you're thinking. And so what we've learned is that overactivity in the default mode network will lead to rumination, will lead to negative thought patterns, and it reduces this thing we call neuroplasticity. So it makes really things worse. And neuroinflammation is involved in this. Anxiety, for example, uh, which is something that where we become hypervigilant. Uh, this is something that is impacted by the default mode network as well. So where we've kind of learned about this and where this came to my attention
Yeah.
was when I looked at a study done by Compass, and Compass is a company that studies psychedelics. They're selling psilocybin. And what was interesting was that, they treated, I think it was about 269 patients that had depression that wasn't treatable with antidepressants or psychological intervention, or any type of counseling. and these patients just wouldn't get better. And so they gave them one dose, 25 milligram of psilocybin. These people had this group had a psychedelic experience, and their depression improved with one dose. So I said to myself, how is
Wow.
this possible? So it's possible because it stimulated the default mode network, so it worked better. So the communication between different parts of the default mode network got back on track. So that kind of what got me interested in this. And so that's how I started, you know, doing these lectures on the default mode network.
Great breakdown. I appreciate that, my friend. That's super interesting. We could probably do a 3 hour episode just on the
Yeah,
default
you
mode
could do
network.
3 hours on this one, 100
You
percent.
know, how does it relate then to stress and mood, and what would this, what effect can that have long term? Ongoing stress differ from, let's say, one bad day, but overall, what can that do to this network? And then we'll plug in something like GABA and what role that could make if we can
Well,
transition to that. But
yeah, so first thing is, how does this all happen? And so if you look at historical data, you're going to find, so no, and to answer your question, which you got to go into like understanding what's happened, what's
right,
going on. You got to, and when you look at mortality from, and I think I brought this up in one of our sessions. If you look at mortality, you'll see that mortality from infectious disease that has dropped significantly over the last, 80 years. And the reason why that is because of the introduction of antibiotics and also hygiene. But chronic diseases has continually increased. And when we look at what's caused that increase, why we were dying of chronic diseases, like, I mean, even some of the psychological conditions, like eating disorders, et cetera, we find that the difference was there was the introduction of over 70,000 chemicals in the foods we consumed between 1945 and 1950, which I think have impacted us. And so when we look at what drives these things, and when I talk about chronic disease, I'm talking about depression, anxiety as well. This is chronic inflammation is right at the top of the list.
yeah,
Dysbiosis, this is not just in the gut, but we think that there's, the microbiome, there's microbiomes all over the body,
yeah,
possibly even in the brain. We have issues with type B malnutrition, which is we're getting lots of calories, but we don't have much nutrients in the calories we're consuming. And then the glycemic mismatch, what we see, and that is the fact that we have too much sugar in the blood and not enough sugar going inside the cells because they can't enter the cells. When we look at mental health, there's been a massive change in mental health disorders right now. We could actually look at IQ over time, and we see a really huge drop in IQ in the last, basically last 70 years. It just
wow,
continues to drop. We look at the age of onset of depression fell from 30 years of age in 1988, 2017, it was 14 years of age. Anxiety has been on the rise since 2005, now affecting almost 40% of the global population. And when we look at the solutions to these problems, anxiolytics, I mean, they're very addictive, very toxic. Antidepressants, they haven't been very effective. We talk about antidepressants killing the soul. I think a lot of people on them, and we see an incredible rise since the 1980s, since they introduced, um, the serotonin uptake inhibitors. There's been a 400% increase in the use of antidepressants. So all these things create issues. So your question was it your question about GABA? Because I just want to give you some
right. That
background.
was, you answered the first part of the question, which is how
Yeah.
does this affect, how does it relate to stress and mood? And then we said, how can maybe GABA play a role in this? And I'll do a screen share here of Natural Factors Pharma GABA, which is the registered
Yeah.
trademark form of GABA under their stress relax line. They have several products under that
Yeah.
subheading stress relax. But yeah, get us started on something like
Yeah. So
GABA.
GABA, so GABA is, it's an inhibitory neurotransmitter that's found, GABA aminobutyric butyric acid, that's what it stands for, but it's found, your body makes it naturally. And so Pharma-GABA is a product that has some really great clinical research. The research is overwhelming, really, if you look at it. And this is the fermented form of GABA. That's what it's called, Pharma-GABA. So they actually ferment it. And what is fascinating about it is that it really does work. It reduces the sympathetic response, the stress response, and improves the parasympathetic response, the relaxing response. I remember the first study that I read about it. It was people crossing uh, these bridges, those bridges held together by ropes. I just forgot the name, what they're called. It's not, it's like a suspension bridge, but
Uh-huh.
it's one person can walk across it. Um,
Okay, I don't know the
and so
name, but
people get really anxiety when they walk across. I don't know if you've ever
uh,
crossed one of those, but it's a walk bridge, and it could
right.
be like 400 feet long. And when you walk it, everything moves, so you feel like you're gonna fall off. So it gives you
Uh-huh.
anxiety. So they did these tests with these students, and half of them they took GABA, the other half they took a placebo. And the students that took the GABA had no anxiety crossing the bridge, which was interesting. And they measured this through chemicals
Uh-huh.
that were released in the saliva. So they actually had objective findings in these individuals that crossed the bridge. So that was the first. But then they've done a lot of studies since. And what it can do, it can actually really reduce your response to stress.
Uh-huh.
So it really relaxes you. So I give it to my patients in the evening, 200 milligrams, and they see an outcome within about an hour. I call it one of my hit products because when I give it to 10 people, 8 people are going to get a positive result with it. So it's one of those things that absolutely works. Now, here's
Yeah.
the problem. There's other GABA products on the market, but they're synthetic, and the
Uh,
synthetics don't work. So I give it to patients. They go, I go and make sure I tell them which one to get. They go and oh my goodness, it works really well. Then I see them 6 months later, go, that GABA product doesn't work anymore. I go, really? And they go, and I'm taking like 1,000 milligrams a day. I go, 1,000? I told you 200. Well, I bought this other brand, and it's they're each capsule is 500 milligrams. So I'm taking two of them. I go, that's the synthetic form. That's why it doesn't work. I
uh,
go back to the fermented form. Go back to Pharma GABA. Then they come back, 3 weeks later, and all of a sudden it's working again. So, and there's been
Interesting.
good data showing that the fermented one is actually the one that works. And what's interesting is in April of last year, there was a study that showed that GABA is also made in the gut by bacteria
Uh,
through a fermentation process. Isn't that interesting?
wow.
So our body's naturally making. So it's something that is very, very effective, something that really, really does work. It's pretty impressive actually. So it's something that I do highly recommend.
So that's another example of the connection between the gut and the brain, right? The
Yeah,
microbiome in our nervous system.
yeah,
So if someone
exactly.
has leaky gut and all kinds of different gas, bloating, intestinal issues, SIBO, they probably aren't maximizing or optimizing their GABA production, right?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
So very interesting. We have different dosages here. Can you see my screen share, Dr. Morello? You can
Yeah,
see this?
let me have a look at it here. Yeah, I see
Should
it.
be available. Perfect. We
At
have the
250 milligrams. Yeah,
250. There's the 200, which Dr. Morello was saying he uses clinically. And we're not here giving any medical advice. We're just giving education and simply putting these things on your radar that you can run by your own physician. If you're
yeah,
working with a
absolutely.
doctor, you can bring this to their attention, get their approval, or at least explore deeper yourself. And then this is a chewable version. I think there's capsules available. Yeah, there's the
Yeah,
capsules
there's
available as
capsules.
well.
Yeah.
How does somebody know they're a candidate for this versus something like, let's say, melatonin, maybe more for sleep, right? But or theanine. We can now kind of. I'll bring up Suntheanine as well. That was Pharma GABA, but then they also have Suntheanine in their stress relax line. How would you differentiate between these two? When is someone candidate for GABA more for or L-Theanine?
GABA is when it's more like it says stress relax, right? So L-theanine you'll use it more for sleep. So that's something that you would use if you needed some sleep, and you can use both as a matter of fact. But and L-theanine is quite well known for relaxation and sleep. So it's something that I give for sleep. So that's one of the products I start with when people need to sleep better. So
Uh huh.
and most people have sleep issues. The GABA I use for down regulating the stress response. This is more for improving sleep patterns.
Got it. Yeah, and suntheanine is also, I mean, well, theanine in general, that's one of the benefits of green tea or matcha instead of just coffee. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Have you observed people that drink too much coffee and it's connected with anxiety, or maybe not? I mean, apparently the research is mixed. Some people think blood pressure raises with coffee, but some studies show it's not necessarily the case. Any thoughts on coffee, caffeine,
Yeah,
tea?
well, there's two types of individuals that I
Yeah.
see from coffee, and there's individuals that have cardiovascular issues, and those issues could be issues that are genetic
Uh-huh.
predisposition, and those people have a real tough time with caffeine. It increases their blood pressure, and it's not very good for them. Then there's another group of people that have no problem with caffeine. As a matter of fact, it can reduce the amount of even gallbladder stones formed, which is interesting, and it has some benefits. So again, it depends on the person. Because caffeine, if you think about coffee, the coffee bean, it's a natural compound in
Right.
a but there are and those people, most of the people that caffeine impacts them differently, and I'm not talking about caffeine, I'm talking about coffee in general.
Right.
They know that it impacts them. So most of the patients, those patients need to stay away from coffee. So they do better with decaffeinated coffee, as a matter of
Right.
fact. And that's so there's a difference.
Right. That's a great answer there. It depends. As everything else, it depends on the
Yeah.
context, depends on what's going on. Right? So, and then let's say someone's interested now in Pharma GABA or the Suntheanine, L-Theanine product, which also comes in different dosages. We have the 100 milligram here pulled up on the screen share, as well available at chewable tablets, vegetarian capsules. But is there any concern taking these natural products with medications that someone might be on? Are there any contraindications you've seen come up? Again, we're
Nope.
trying not to give advice, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, with Pharmagab, I haven't because most of my patients are on medications. I do complex disease patients, and so I recommend Pharmagab to all of them. So I
Got it.
haven't had that. And some of them, are even taking GABA analogs, like gabapentin as an example, and I still give them the Pharmagaba in the evening and
Uh huh.
to keep them down. And then I even tell them if you're having stress during the day, go ahead and take a Pharmagaba. I always tell them to start at night in the evening so they can see the effects of it because it works within about an hour. So you have to kind of see how it impacts you. So that's important.
Beautiful. Good answer there. And then again, that was Pharma GABA, Suntheanine. We'll finish off on magnesium and then we'll do a recap on everything. One of my favorites to take myself, I'm taking it right now, and then also using it in clinically is the magnesium bisglycinate through natural factors. About 2 capsules a day. Each capsule gives you 200 milligrams. What are your thoughts on magnesium? Can it play a role in all this as well? Can it be a good combination with everything else we're discussing here?
Yeah, so magnesium is, it's involved in so many systems in the body. It's a hit because it works.
Right.
It's so popular. And there's different types of magnesium. So magnesium is always magnesium. So I always tell people, okay, this is if this is magnesium, this is magnesium, this is magnesium bisglycinate, this is magnesium threonate, this
Yeah.
is magnesium citrate. So magnesium always stays magnesium. There's no change in magnesium. Uh, the changes, the difference is the carrier. So I always get people to start with any type of magnesium. They can start with the bisglycinate, they can start with the citrate. And I always tell them, 2 to 300 milligrams in the morning and 2 to 300 milligrams a night. And magnesium has so many different applications. And so can relax muscles. I mean, if you take a lot of citrate or a lot of oxide,
Yeah.
magnesium oxide, you'll get, your stools will loosen up. If you're constipated, that'll work quite well. Bisglycinate has less of an impact on the GI tract, so it seems to not create that because your gut is smooth muscle and it can relax that smooth muscle. But that's only one aspect of magnesium. Magnesium is involved in 200 different enzyme systems throughout the
Right.
body. So it's involved in energy production as well. So it can help produce energy. And so when you think about that, hey, magnesium is supposed to help me sleep. How does it do that if it increases energy? Well, you can't sleep if you don't have energy.
Exactly.
Energy is not just about movement. Energy is about producing chemicals, compounds, et cetera, et cetera. And magnesium is one of those things that is really, really important. Now, there is a population base, a very small population base, where they take magnesium capsules and they have reactions to them. It's probably less than 1%, but I've seen that at the hospital. And so they have this reaction. So it can't be on magnesium. It must be something within the magnesium capsule. I'm not sure. No, we can't figure it out. So we have them do Epsom salt baths to get magnesium into the body because they got to be getting magnesium from their diet. So that
Right.
doesn't affect them.
Of
But
course.
when they take a supplement, so one of the this is probably, if not, it's got to be one of the most popular supplements, if not the most popular supplements on the marketplace. And the reason why it's popular is because it works. So you take it, you're going to feel it. So I would say it's a hit. That means if 10 people take it, 8 people are going to get a real result with it. So it's something that, you should you should take. I take it daily.
Yeah.
And I'll take that one that you just showed. I take two of those a day.
And that was the magnesium bisglycinate. That has a powder version available and the capsule version available through Natural Factors. And whatever you can see yourself being the most consistent with. Some people prefer the capsules. Some people like powders. They can just sneak into their morning smoothie. So whatever you can see yourself being the most consistent with. So thank you for that, Dr. Morello. And what would you say then is your typical arsenal? Obviously, it depends on the person, but if someone's really stressed out, anxious, let's say they're in their 40s, 50s years of age, have kids, job that they have to hold down, they're married, a lot of things going on, what would be a typical 2 to 3 product arsenal that you would like to use? Maybe GABA, magnesium. What did it look like for you, or anything we might have missed that we didn't highlight here
Yeah,
today?
like saffron's a good one to take as well, right? It has some really good clinical data on reducing depression and stress. Rhodiola rosea is another one. That's an interesting one that can reduce your interpretation of stress. Ashwagandha is very, very popular.
Hmm.
It's an adaptogen that can also do that. Curcumin that we've talked in the past reduces neuroinflammation, which is one of the causative factors of impacting brain health and the default mode network. So that's something that could be useful there as well. So, you have all these choices of things you can take. And what I always recommend patients is to start with 1 or 2 items at a time
Right.
and then move from there. So, you've got two that we've talked about, you know, Pharma GABA, which is works, and magnesium, which works. There's two to start. You can always add the saffron, you can always add the ashwagandha, but those are two ones that you can start right away with.
The other thing is you can move to a forest like Dr. Morello there. Look at that background there with
Yeah, they're
in the
nice.
woods.
Yeah.
That's a good option. Go live
Yeah.
off the grid somewhere
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
unwind. So this was super informative episode, folks. Episode 257 with Dr. Gaetano Morello from Vancouver, British Columbia, over in Canada. And we've highlighted the default mode network, super important topic, how this relates to stress, mood. And we've put several different products as an arsenal on your radar that you can dive deeper into. We carry everything here at Healthy Habit Health Foods, Pharma GABA, Suntheanine, and the magnesium options, plus rhodiola, ashwagandha, saffron, some other things you might want to consider depending on if it's more of like a depressed type anxiety or stress, things that you might want to consider. Ashwagandha can even help with hormones. There's some research on testosterone benefits from ashwagandha. So you even highlighted coffee, tea, caffeine, how to approach that discussion. What would you leave us with, my friend? What's something that's a good take home for managing stress in general, or even just lifestyle strategies, deep breathing, exercise, anything that we can add in our lifestyle in general to support these products?
Yeah, yeah. I think, movement is important because movement increases the dopamine levels
Mm,
in the brain, and that's a big, big player right now. So I think just, if you can, and movement is not easy to start, but once you start, you'll get confidence and you'll start doing it more and more. You probably know that, but it's just getting it started. So I think that's an important thing. Watching our diets. I know we
yeah,
talk about this a lot, but stay away from all the junk. There's just too much junk out there. And so your body is this temple. I mean, it's a gift. And what can we do to keep it healthy? And that's some of the things we put into our bodies. It's not easy to follow some good regimen, but once you get going on it, you'll feel different because you really want to take care of your body as much as you can. So those things are
right.
going to be, and then these supplements are just really good adjuncts that can really help you get through it. Pharma GABA will help you help reduce some of this stress because all of us have stress and anxiety right now. It's just it's a time. where, we're seeing a lot of it,
Yeah.
and a lot of things going on. Chronic diseases are just rampant, and so if we can improve our stress levels, we really can go a long way in improving overall health. Because I
Yeah.
think that's a key component. And everybody will tell you, right? Well,
100%.
my friend got, a heart attack. My friend got cancer because there was under so much stress. I caught a cold because it was a stressful period in my life. All you hear that over and over again. And there's reasons why that is. And we'll have to do one just on that, just on,
Okay.
how does stress create disease? And there's a good
Exactly.
explanation for that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to mark that one down, pass it along to Chanty. Shout out to Chanty for organizing this, coordinating all these years with us. And naturalfactors.com, folks. Naturalfactors.com is a good starting point. And Dr. Merrill, do you have any, like a blog or anything, anyone, if they want to
You know
stay in
what?
the
One of the
loop?
things you
Or
guys can do is you can start looking at the illumi.health network. Illumi, ILLUMI .health.
I'm going to write that down here real quick. ILLUMI.
.health. And we have a lot of videos on there. There's no market advertising, just information for them.
Perfect. Thank you, my good man, Dr. Morello. Appreciate you as
Yeah.
always. I look
Okay, we'll
forward
see you
to our
soon.
next one, and stay healthy. Keep that immune system strong,
Thank
folks.
you.
Thank you, my friend, and we'll talk
Take
soon.
care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.